Everybody, what's up and welcome to my garden. Somebody on Twitter recently asked me how to use zinnias as a cut flower, and I was like, yes, I can totally make a video about this. Zinnias are awesome. My zinnia patch is definitely looking a little bit rough. You can see it's been beaten down by some storms lately. It's been very windy today. For the most part, though, the blooms are, the plants are doing pretty good. I do have a hint of powdery mildew that I'm kind of freaking out about, but that's beside the point. How do you treat powdery mildew? You have any tips for me? Anyhow, I thought I would look at some of these blooms and talk about cut flowers. Now, admittedly, some of these blooms are really ragged and weathered. I have not been deadheading this patch as much as I should or picking cut flowers. I've been really just kind of behind in things. There's so much going on right now. So don't judge me too hard. I can't help it. The zinnias look rough right now. They'll look a little bit better later. They've got Japanese beetles right now. There was a delay of the Japanese beetles finding the zinnias, but now they've kind of eaten the petals, which is a major bummer. Anyhow, when you pick zinnias, you want to pick flowers that are open already. For the most part, zinnias don't continue to open up in the vase like a lot of flowers do. I mean, they do a little bit, but you can't pick a closed one and expect it to open. That's just usually not going to happen. Or never happen. I don't know. If you take a look at this flower, you can see it's got a nice long stem. It's already kind of forming a seed cone, so it's past its prime. But if we just look at the stem, we see it's nice and long. And if I go down the stem and wiggle it, the stem is really stiff and sturdy. And when I squeeze it, it's hard. That is a stem that we can cut. But if I look at this flower over here, you can tell when I wiggle this flower, it's wobbly, it's mushy. I don't even have to wiggle it. It's drooping already. It is not ready to be picked. You can really just tell just by touching the stems. If they are stiff and sturdy, then that's a good candidate to pick. This red one here, it needs some more time, and hopefully it'll kind of just stiffen up for me and we'll be able to pick it. So to pick this pink flower, if this were at the perfect time, I would go down the stem and I usually leave one set of leaves. That's just personal preference because I like a shorter plant. And I'll cut just above leaf node. That will allow the plant to make more branches. And then I'm going to pick off the lower leaves of this cut flower because, of course, I don't want those leaves in my vase, because if you leave the leaves in your vase and put them in water, the bacteria can grow and it'll just get real gross. Your water will get gross, the stems will clog up, and your flowers will not last very long at all. If your zinnias are picked at the right time, they can last up to a week. If they're not picked at the right time, they might last a couple days. So yeah, that's something to keep into consideration there. If I'm being totally honest with y'all, most of these are past their prime. I've not been doing good at this. In addition to cutting flowers for actual vases, it's important to deadhead your blooms also. That's something I forgot to mention in the pinching zinnias video and propagating zinnias video or whatever that was. It's so important to deadhead because if you don't, you've got these gross blooms making seeds. For one, they are not very pretty to look at. When the flower is allowed to make seeds, they're slowly going to stop blooming, and you want your flower show to last as long as possible, and you want your border to look as good as it can for the longest time as it can, I guess. So you really want to get rid of those gross flowers. And when I deadhead, I really just treat them the same way as I do when I cut the flowers. I go down, one leaf notch, I guess, and cut below that. So when I take a closer look at the zinnia blooms, you can see in this one, wow, you can see these are really bug damaged. But if you look at this flower, you can see it's past its prime. There is kind of a seed head beginning to form. You can tell that because the flower itself is elongating and the petals are starting to, drop. Even though the stem is nice and sturdy still, this flower really is just beyond its prime. If we take a look at this flower, this probably is one of the ones that's most close to, when you want to cut them. You can see the yellow ring hasn't started to open. If we flip it upside down, you can see there's no gaps under here between where the petals meet and the green part there. It's relatively flat. It has not started to form seeds yet, and if I squeeze the stem, it is very sturdy. Even though this flower head is really big, it is sturdy. It's holding the head up of it. The bloom is faded a little bit from age, but for the most part, I'm catching it on the tail end of good cutting. This one you can see it's faded. We can tell it's older because the outside petals are faded. The ring has already started to open up, which that's not always an indicator that, you know, it's too late. But if I flip it over, you can see this gap. Do you see the gap? I'm not sure if you even know what I'm talking about, where the petals meet the green part. And if I look at the stem, I can feel the stem in my hand and I can just kind of smush it. The stem has become hollow. For a cut flower, you do not want that stem to feel hollow there. It is gonna definitely wilt within a few days. Ideally, when you cut these flowers, you want to put them immediately into water. I know some people recommend putting them into warm water because warm water can you kind of encourage them to drink up and stay hydrated. I usually just put them into a bucket of cool water and set them in a kind of cool shaded place for a while before arranging them. It really is up to you, and you know, if you're just using them at your house, feel free to do whatever you want. They're your flowers, and no matter what, they're going to look really pretty in a vase. You can also extend their vase life by changing the water regularly, and as always, you want to make sure that you don't put them in a hot place in direct sunlight, and they should last a good amount of time. Hopefully this was somehow helpful. I don't know if it was. If you like this video, please subscribe. I'd absolutely love to have you on the channel. We're putting out new videos on the regular pretty much. I hope y'all are having a real great day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye guys.